right here and right now together in this collective consciousness of love and belonging. So, welcome to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living on this beautiful, kind of overcast but still beautiful, second Sunday in March, March 8th, where we traditionally in California and several other states spring forward. So we're all here a little sleepy, but I promise that whatever I talk about will keep you awake. So I am going to be talking about our living legacy today. And it's always interesting when I have a talk title and I'm designing my talk around that title, because on Sunday, when I start to make my little blurb about what the talk is going to be about, I have one idea, and then as I think about it, as the week goes on, often that idea changes. And that's what happened this time around. So originally, I thought what I was going to be talking about was this foundational belief that we have in Science of Mind, this principle that we stand on of what our monthly theme is this month, which is honoring the divine in all creation. Big theme, you can go a lot of ways with it. And I thought what I'm going to talk about is how we see this sense of the divine expressing in so many ways, a variety of expressions of the divine in and through and as creation. I was thinking about, Ernest Holmes talks about multiplicity from oneness, and how as a New Thought movement, as an organization of Centers for Spiritual Living, we really honor that. We honor the diversity in and through our congregations. I was thinking about Dr. Ernest Holmes and how when he first started 100 years ago, he was one of the first people to start ordaining women as ministers. I mean, now we don't think too much about it, although I have to say there are times when I'm in a group of people of diverse backgrounds and if I say I'm a minister, they kind of look at me a little puzzled like, really? You're a woman and you're a minister still. So there is some residual to that. But that's what I thought I was going to be talking about, was this wonderful heritage that we stand on, that we honor all men, women, gay, lesbian, transgender people in the world. We have ministers and practitioners and congregants who come from all walks of life. And we don't care what color you are, or what age you are, or where you were born, or what socioeconomic status you are. We don't care. We honor it all. And we don't see diversity as a problem or a concern. We see it as our strength, that we are strong in this inclusion that we practice in our centers. Well, that's what I thought I was going to be talking about. And then I thought, as per Lisa's quote today, that I was going to be talking about how the Divine Feminine, because it is an International Women's Day, and the Divine Masculine are not necessarily about gender, but are aspects of the divine that are in and through everything in creation. It's what we use when we do the creative process, when we manifest, when we cooperate or participate with law. We use all of these aspects. That's what I thought I was going to be talking about. Oh, I'll go that way. And then I didn't do any of that. so what I did is I started thinking about this whole idea of legacy. What is a legacy? And what does that mean for us in our daily lives? Our living legacy? It needs to be applicable. I need to know what I'm talking about here. Usually, we think of a legacy as something that someone leaves behind after they leave this physical plane, so that we can remember them, so that it will contribute to the good of the people that they leave behind, usually a building or a monetary amount or a movement or something. So I started getting online thinking there has to be a fresh new way to look at this idea. And sure enough, there was. As per usual, we can always find a new way, a new perspective to look at something. So I came up with some really interesting stuff that really excited me. A legacy is much more than something that we leave behind. A legacy is about what we learned from the past, how we live in the present, and how we benefit, how we are responsible for the future. It is intergenerational. It is beyond time. It moves through. It's a way of receiving the benefits of the people that came before us, standing on the shoulders of their accomplishments, their awakening, their contributions, utilizing that to the best of our ability now, standing in who and what we have come here to be, and benefiting in the collective consciousness of humankind, the people that come after us. It is a circle and a cycle. And I love that idea, because isn't that what we practice here in this philosophy? We take the broader view of we are one. We are one life, influencing each other, being there for each other, affecting and contributing to each other's lives. And yet, when we expand in our own spiritual awakening, our own spiritual growth, and we attract our own good, and that affects everything. So I loved that idea. I got really excited. Can you tell? Mm-hmm. So I started looking online. Thank God for Google. And I got online and I found all kinds of really good stuff. And this one article I found by this woman, her name is Susan Bossack. Never heard of her before. Still don't really know all that much about her. But she is a social researcher and educator. And she wrote an article, very simply titled Legacy. And in it, she started off her article with a really interesting question. And here is the question she started off with. Let's see if I want to be able to read the response. So she started off with this question. Where do you think it's best to plant a young tree? A clearing in an old growth forest or in an open field? Well, immediately I thought, well, you got to give the plant some space, so probably a field is better, but that's not true. Here's what she said. Her answer was, ecologists tell us that a young tree grows better when it's planted in an area with older trees. And here's why. And I love this, being a horticulturist and everything. I love plants. I love this idea. So the article went on to say that when you plant a young tree in and among older trees, the young roots use the pathways that the roots from the older trees have already created so that it can go deeper and that they can grow even more easily through any environment, any ground. And it went on to say that these young roots actually end up grafting themselves to the older roots, and they create this interconnected network, interdependent network that creates an entire forest, so that the stronger trees can share their resources with the younger, weaker trees. How cool is that? I love that idea, and isn't that what we do in our churches, for sure, in our centers, but in our lives? We are the strength of the tree. Whatever is our strength, we can hold it for those that need our help. And we can stand in this collective, interdependent structure or strength so that we can benefit ourselves and everybody who comes after us. I love this idea. A living legacy is an interdependent cycle where we stand on the shoulders of those who have come before us, live now in the present in our fullest, and think about the responsibility and the benefits that we share with those that come after us. That is our living legacy. And I couldn't help but think, as I was thinking about my legacy personally, I couldn't help but think about my mother's hands. I know, it seems odd. I called my sister yesterday. You know, my mom lives with my sister now. And I called her and I said, I know this sounds weird, Marcel, but could you please send me a picture of Mom's hands? Well, my mother happened to be asleep, so she said, oh good, she's asleep, I'll get it right now. So she sent me this picture of my mother's hands. And here's why a living legacy reminds me of my mother's hands. When my mother lived in Escondido, and she lived over in Westmont Town Court in assisted living, and I was caring for her, I would go and pick her up any chance I could if I was doing errands around town, whatever it was, because she loved to get out and she liked to be with me. And so I would put her in the car, and she would often just sit quietly when she wasn't reading the signs on either side of the street. She would sit quietly, and she would be quiet for a moment. I could see her looking down. And she would say, and she said this over and over again, "Oh my goodness, look at these hands. They are so old and wrinkly and spotted. Oh, these are some old hands." I have the same hands, by the way. And I would say, and my reply was almost the same every time, "Don't you dare say anything bad about those hands. Those hands have held your children. They've embraced your grandbabies. They have made thousands of meals. They have created amazing pieces of art." My mother was an incredible artist. "They have had successes and failures. Those hands have contributed so much to your life. They are the epitome of your life. Those hands," and I didn't say this, I'm saying it now because I'm thinking it's true, "those hands are her legacy. They show us that she is from a line of strong women who have created wonderful things, men and women. Remember, there's no gender and divinity or femininity. And they have stood and given their gifts." She was one of the most, and still is, I'm speaking as if she's not with us anymore. Mentally, she is not. You know, but she's still my mother, and she's still present on this planet, just not in the same form that I remember her before. She has dementia, I'm sure she has Alzheimer's, and so she's very forgetful, and it's changed her personality a bit as well. But she has always been, as long as I have known her, one of those people that will do anything for you if she can. That to the best of her ability, she's going to stand there and be for you. She's friendly and kind and optimistic. And when she was in her later life, when she was still pretty together, she grew a garden. She was a wonderful gardener. And she would grow all these vegetables, and she would gather up the surplus, and she'd put them in a big bag, and she'd take them down to the senior center, and they all called her the vegetable lady. You know, so she contributed, and those hands were the epitome of her legacy. They were open to receive the gifts that her mother used to go and see Ernest Holmes in LA. I love that story. She said, "No way, I know, I didn't find that out until later in life when my grandmother was already gone." And she gave to so many people, and still does, my mother. So our legacy is that interconnectedness that we draw from, that supports us and buoys us up to know who and what we are. And it empowers us to stand in our own enoughness and our own divinity and to create something fresh and new. And isn't that what we teach here in Science of Mind? Isn't that what we teach? That our divine inheritance is that we are empowered to create whatever we decide that we want to see in our lives. Whatever it is that we want to create together. And in my research online, thank you again, Google, I ran across this video that I actually watched about 10 years ago. It was made in 2010, and it was by a man named Jeremy Rifkin. And I remember the first time I saw it, I thought, "Oh, that's so cool. I gotta share it." And I totally forgot all about it until I ran across it again. And the video is called The Empathic Civilization. I highly recommend that you Google it and watch The Empathic Civilization. But the gist of, the essence of what he was saying in his video is basically this. So he's an author and a social and ethical advisor, whatever that means. And here's what he wrote, or here's what he states in his video. He says, "As a human species, we are not wired for aggression, violence, and self-interest, but we are actually soft-wired for sociability, attachment, affection, companionship, and the empathetic drive to belong." Oh, I love that idea. And I've heard this before from evolutionary scientists, I don't know what to call it, that the species that survive are the ones that cooperate, that come together and support each other. It's not survival of the fittest, it's that cooperate, survive. The ones that come together and support each other, and that's what this reminded me of so thoroughly. And he goes on to say that, I'm just going to read this because I want to make sure I say it all. He says that we're soft-wired with something called mirror neurons that allow us to experience within ourselves the same thing we see others experience. So we have empathy, we have compassion for what we see other people going through, and it affects us in a real way. And he goes on to say that it has been proven, he said scientifically, but it sounded funny, so I just wrote it. It has been proven that the same neurons fire in our brain whether we're experiencing a particular event or observing someone else experiencing a similar event. And I would add that I know that there is research that says that we don't even have to watch somebody else experience the event, that we can imagine the event in our mind. That's what visualization is all about. You know, my daughter used to, when she played basketball in high school, her coach would make them lay down on the floor and they would imagine throwing the free throw, from the free throw line, the ball into the hoop over and over. And those that visualized did just as well as those that practiced. So we are wired to be connected to each other, to belong to each other. And that is where we excel in Centers for Spiritual Living, in my humble opinion. That we come together on this platform, on this structure of unity. There is only one life, and your life is a reflection of my life. In you, I see the face of God. In you, I see the beauty, the life. Namaste. The God in me recognizes and honors the God in you. This is the foundational experience we have here. This is a wonderful living legacy to be a part of. So last week, I talked about a book that I didn't even know existed. I shared a little thing about the 1918 influenza epidemic with you that came out of this book. So I never heard of it before. It was written by Dr. Ernest Holmes, our founder's brother, Fenwick Holmes, who worked with Ernest quite a bit of the time, and it's called His Life in Times, Ernest Holmes, His Life in Times. And so I found it on Thrift Books, and I ordered a copy of it, and I've been enjoying reading it so much. Talk about a legacy. Holmes knew, and all of the pioneers of New Thought that helped develop the philosophy that he synthesized and began this movement with, they all contributed to his experience, and he contributes to our experience. We stand on his shoulders. There's one thing in here that I want to read because it kind of blew me away. And I thought, this is the kind of attitude, the kind of consciousness that we are founded on and that we participate in all the time. And it's on page 256, if you get the book. And he writes, Fenwick writes, if healing was, as Ernest maintained, the lifeblood of the religious science movement, remember that before we were Centers for Spiritual Living, we were Church of Religious Science, and we all called ourselves religious scientists. Sometimes I still do. Then Ernest himself and his wife Hazel were the heart that worked steadily to keep the lifeblood flowing. Ernest never deviated from his philosophy of doing. I don't think I've ever actually heard it called a philosophy of doing, but I love that because we know that we do not stand on theory, that everything we do is to put these principles into action in our daily lives. We prove principle. Sorry, I'm narrating in the back. How do you practice? What results do you get? What are you doing with your theories? And Hazel was his staunchest disciple. Hazel, his wife, was, and I read that a lot of this in here, apparently one of the most amazing practitioners that we are founded on. In 1940, Ernest began reporting actual cases of healing, telling exactly what was done and said. In one instance, he described the healing of an alcoholic whom he had known socially in Los Angeles, while Ernest and Reginald Armour, who was his young apprentice, let's call him, were stopping briefly in a San Francisco hotel. They received a call from another room, and it proved to be Ernest's alcoholic acquaintance asking for help. Ernest did not know then or later how the man knew of his presence, but he and Reg went to see him. The man was so intoxicated, he was too intoxicated to stand, so they put him to bed, and when he slept, returned to their room, where they did spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer, him throughout the evening, maintaining in Ernest's words. So this is Fenwick writing Ernest's words. This man is conscious that he is pure spirit. He is poised and at peace within himself. There is nothing in him that craves alcohol. He is not seeking to escape from anything. He meets every issue of life without fear. There is nothing to run away from, nothing to avoid. At all times, he has a sense of well-being, of happiness, of security, and of expression. There is no memory of having received any pleasure or benefit from alcohol. The spirit within him is satisfied. It is radiant. It never seeks to escape from itself. It exists in its own sense of adequacy. It exists in joy and freedom and in peace. They treated alternately for hours. At length, they felt that he was free and healed. This proved true. He was not only completely sober in the morning, but Ernest kept watch on this case for the next 10 years, and the man never drank again. So, that seems like, are you kidding me? It's a cure for alcoholism? It's a cure for anything. It is a shift of an alignment of who and what we are, and allowing that to be the foundation and the structure that informs everything we do in our lives. So that is a dramatic example of something that Ernest did. And the book is filled with examples. And I can tell you examples, and you can tell me examples. And this can be used for small and large things. That was a pretty big thing. But I gotta tell you, on Friday morning, my husband and I woke up and we didn't have any electricity on one part of our house. One side of our house. I found an electrician. He couldn't come on Friday, but he came early Saturday morning. And he had been there for a little over 2 hours, and he was getting frustrated. He could not figure out what the problem was. And I went, oh no, I actually told my husband, I think he's gonna bolt, because he was getting so frustrated. And so I sent out a text. If you're a practitioner, you got it. And it said, please treat that our electrician can find the source of the problem. Ty sent me a response, Ty Smith, one of our newer practitioners. 5 minutes later, he said, I've got it. I know what it is. It was some burned out wire behind the panel. Anyway, it was fixed. But what I'm saying is, principal doesn't care if it's a small thing or a large thing. It's just being in that place of this is true and pulling us out of it to say, no, this is true. To living in the solution. That is our legacy. That is where we live as metaphysicians, as religious science, or practitioners of the science of mind philosophy. We are empowered because we know who we are. And if we forget, we can remember our legacy and our divine inheritance and bring ourselves home. So I have an incredible intention for every single person who is sitting here in this room, and all of the people that are involved in our center in any way, that each and every one of you knows and feels the power that is within you. This is your inheritance. It is the legacy that was left for us as human beings. All of the people throughout history who have known that we we are divine, they are your support. They moved into the alignment of the all that is, just as I know that for you. And I hope that as you leave here, you show others who they are by being who you are. That is my vision and my intention and my knowing for each and every one of you. That's what we're about here. We're about living our legacy right here and right now. It's not something that will be good when we're gone, although it will be. But it is timeless. And we are always and constantly contributing to the collective consciousness, our spiritual awakening, our spiritual growth, our knowing who we are is what we leave the future. That's the foundation and the knowing that those that come after us will stand on. And they'll say, look where we have come. And it will always expand and grow and be better and better and better. Just as I was talking last week about the coronavirus and the collective consciousness of, uh-oh, this thing is out to get us and we have to rise above it to know the truth, that's what I'm calling you to do. Because that's what your life deserves. You are an expression of one life. You are empowered. We create by participating with this natural law that is at our disposal. It is a great gift from our Creator. We use it. We know it. We are it. I'm getting a little excited. Calm down. That's how much I know this. So this is my invitation to you. And I put in if you're looking in the bulletin, on the sheet that says what we're doing, I did put in there that today I would like to have a discussion about how we talk about this philosophy when we're in the world. Because it's hard. It isn't in our common kind of zeitgeist, if you will. The people, when you say that your thought creates things, they look at you like, oh yeah, she's a little woo-woo. You know, that seems a little magical to me, and when in reality is not. It is simply a law. So sometimes, I know when I first started studying the science of mind philosophy, I would almost be apologetic when I was telling somebody about it. Well, you know, because I wasn't comfortable with it. So when I owned it and stood in it and stand in it and proved principle, you know how Pam Grautner book, E Squared, has these experiments where she proves principle? I'm inviting us to do that. Through our words and through the way we show up, to prove principle and to speak our truth wherever we go. And so after the service, I'd like to have a discussion about how it looks to talk about how we speak about this philosophy when we're in the world. I actually made these little booklets. Sorry about that sound guy. Several months ago that talk in plain language, no jargon. And they give you tips about how to talk about the science of mind philosophy or new thought in general as you move through your day. So, that's my invitation to you. To be who you are. A divine spiritual expression of everyone that has come before you, and a support and a foundation for those that come after. Let's pray. Take a nice, deep, centering breath in. Oh, God is absolutely all there is. There is nothing else. We are living in the one life. It is wise and it is beautiful and it is serene and it is safe. It is lovely. It is comfortable. It is strong and it is soft. It is loud and it is quiet. It is all that exists. It is feminine and receptive, and it is masculine, and it creates. It is the only thing that we are made of and living our life in. It is this thing we call God, spirit, life itself, the life principle. So I speak my word for and about each and every person who is present here in this room, and each and every person who is not. I speak my word for born about all life on this beautiful Mother Earth. I speak my word for the Mother herself. I speak my word about all the countries on this planet. I speak my word for and about our beloved United States of America. I speak my word for life. I speak my word that there is a shift in consciousness in all life, in all these things that knows to, in a greater way, the reality of our being. That we are one with this power and presence that created it. That we are one in unity with the presence and the principle and the law. And that it is always working within us, and that we can choose to consciously work with it and participate and know that everything is within us already. There's nothing outside ourselves that we have to gain. It is already here. We simply have to align with it. So I know this at a deep, deep level for each and every life, for each and every expression of the divine reality. And I'm so grateful for this. I just am so grateful. And gratitude opens us even wider. I know for myself, I know for you, for we are living in the one life, the reality of these statements, of these truths, of these knowings that I speak into word. Thank you, God, for the ability to create. Thank you, God, for the ability to change the physical reality of our experience. So we relax into that. I know all is well. I leave it be, and I let Spirit do Spirit's work. And we signify our agreement by saying together, and so it is.